The Saito, Kuki and Seki clans, the three allies that Takeda had left on the front lines, were defeated, all in unceremonious one-sided engagements, one after the other. These victories allowed the Otomo to further concentrate their strength and force their way forwards, crushing thousands of Takeda troops as they ground on. A combined Takeda-Imagawa army tried to stem the tide, but was defeated just as easily. Now the strategically crucial Mino-Uwari region was doomed to fall, and with that, any hope for coalition forces to approach the capital would be lost. Did he tell you his plan? Yeah, he's gone crazy. Not quite. There is reason to it. If it works, this will be good for Japan, and for me. Then leave me out of it. Can't do that, I'm afraid. You're on my side here. And why's that? Don't get my own side. That's just the reality of the situation. You can't complain about having to get up in the morning and then get mad when you're not next in line to be shogun. Bet you I can. You'll be no help at all, I can tell. Then leave me here. Father would wrap you up in paper and have you delivered to me. Just go along with it quietly, will you? I won't make you fight like last time. It's not that. Well, whatever. Not like we got any choice. There is one choice Father is giving us. The choice of what we do with the loser. You gonna kill him? Well, I don't think I'll need to. We'll see. We'll see. Hello there and welcome back to Barbarian Masters. We've skipped forward a few turns now in order to get through some auto-resolving. Here's some more auto-resolving though, the Imagawa making a pointless attack, and this won't be the first one they'll be doing. Not sure what their plan here is, but there we go, we defeated one of their armies. So what we're doing here is just consolidating our strength to push into the choke points, ready to completely cut the enemy off. We've got Kurokawa and Daihoji going into the mountains in order to capture the castle up there. That will cover us from the east, whereas we'll be sending Kobayakawa, Yoshishige and Terada along the main road to the south, and here's the first capture from them as we push into Mikawa. This is particularly nice now because we've got the enemy completely choke pointed. There are only 3 castles that are blocking all of eastern Japan from our territory right now. So it's particularly easy to defend and particularly comfy to observe. So now we just need to find out if there's going to be any major resistance to our advance, because of course we can just keep going and still be choke pointed for quite a long distance. The Takeda are beginning to muster for a counterattack though, including their faction leader there starting to march up. So we may have to actually use this defensive advantage we're gaining in the near future. It's a similar situation up in the mountains. I move my ninja forwards and we can see there's quite a lot of stuff hanging out around North Shinano, which is another key strategic point. We've even got the Date armies here, including their faction leader as it will turn out. So 4 stacks to be seen there. Looks like a counterattack would be on the cards if we move forward there, but we're still going to do it because we do want this castle. The castle itself is fully garrisoned, so not an easy thing to do. We'll just move up and besiege it for now, because you can see there is another Takeda army nearby, and I thought they may come over and attack us because a sally battle there would probably be easier than trying to actually get into the castle. A bit more scouting reveals though that the enemy are actually stronger in this region than even what we previously saw. There are about 6 armies hanging around here, 3 Date ones and 3 Takeda, and that's on top of the Takeda army already coming towards us right now. So a lot of stuff for Daihoji and Kurokawa to deal with. I'm moving up a reinforcement stack for them to help out with this, and it does look like the enemy are now on the move coming up towards us there. Both the Date and Takeda beginning their advance. The area is so cluttered with castles they can't move very far each time. turn, so that buys us some time. My third stack arrives, and now I can easily auto-resolve that castle, so we'll get right on in. Didn't get the sally we were looking for, so now we'll go for a defensive strategy. It's a maximum level castle, so that's perfect. We'll also want to destroy this famous Buddhist temple, since that has been ruining my attempts to convert the nearby regions to Christianity for a while now. That's going to help us out with public order quite a lot. Back on the main road, I decided to advance a little bit because there are a couple of small enemy armies that are standing on their own here, so I thought I'll just attack them to make them go away, but we can't do too much here because you can see there's tons of stuff right behind them, so we probably won't go for the castle now. We'll just set up for a defense, and I'm going to have the defense be in the field rather than in the castle back in Mukawa, because when your army's really big, defending a castle is actually quite difficult because so much of it will be outside of the castle. So we'll stick to going for a regular field battle, but as you can see, the enemy just fall back. They are scared of our advance. Same thing up here in the mountains, so looks like we're going to have some more time now, and we might as well use that to continue pushing forwards. The Imagawa army here, another small one, decides to attack us just like the previous one did, so we'll just kill them. And that very conveniently draws in the Takeda garrison from the nearby castle, so obviously that's going to make our life here quite a lot easier. We can kill both at the same time with them down, and with the Takeda's main force having turned back for whatever reason, we'll just take this next castle, thank you very much, very easily, so things going better than expected. This castle though isn't ideal because it's set off from the main road. Its zone of control doesn't touch the main road, so that means the enemy can just walk past you if you try and defend this castle. So ideally we do need to take the next one as well. It's fully garrisoned, but our army's doing so well and it's still so strong that there's no reason to believe we won't be able to just keep going. After that voyage of pure trepidation, I can finally breathe. I assure the reader that the speculations of the previous pages came nowhere close to Yoshiaki's true intention for recalling me. I am not to be cast out, not to be executed, and not even to have my rank removed on account of no longer meeting the required income. Instead, I am to be trusted with a strange mission. I think I underestimated him, and overestimated my own luck. Of course, he knew that I was sabotaging the efforts of the Nanban this whole time. He knows of the captives I have been shipping to Noto to wait out the war, driving up the price for those the Nanban do manage to acquire. Win-win for Japan, one could say. Yoshiaki is a man who understands the underhanded. While I did not do this for him, it worked for him, and he will take the reward as compensation to the assault on his authority I represent. More so, he places his authority in my hands yet again. He has come up with a way to secure the new shogunate's power over Japan. Listening to his brazen scheme, I could hardly believe it. He is heartless, that is for sure, but he is loyal to his people in ways they do not know. I hope his plan succeeds. I will do everything I can to make it so. Something worth remarking on finally happened at sea. We actually managed to lose one of the Nanban trade ships to a fire. It was because I tried to move it while it was really on fire, and it was just instantly destroyed. It seems it can't be destroyed while it's on repair mode, but trying to move it just pushed it over the edge. So these ships can be taken down, and in this case it was just one rocket Kaboya constantly setting it on fire that actually caused the problem. We will win this battle with the remaining ships, but still that is a shame. Now the Takeda have regrouped here in front of our front line, so we've got a bit of a face-off. It seems the enemy have a small numerical advantage, but our troops are going to be more experienced, and of course we have the better commanders. What I wanted to do was just press forwards into the enemy's position. We're going to be aggressive and try to force them into a decisive battle with everything on both sides. By besieging the castle, we're effectively challenging them to battle, so they'll need to attack us, and if they don't, they may risk us just coming in and trying a castle assault to take it from them. We'll see how they react. As their turn comes about, they do an unexpected move. They rush into the forests beside the castle and start hiding their armies. I think what they're trying to do there is walk past us. They're just going to take a while since there's no road up there. And the same thing's happening to the forces near Daihoji and Kurakawa. They're trying to bypass the front line. That's pretty inconvenient. Some more bad news was that we actually lost one of our trade nodes, the one near Oki Island, after the enemy just built up tons of ships and managed to defeat our trading ship fleet, which itself was no longer defended by any Nanban ships since things have been moving back west in preparation for a certain special plan. I did manage to bring down one more naval invasion from the enemy, this time from the Tamura, a clan we haven't seen at all so far, and who have a symbol that's very, very similar to the Otomos, but they're gone. They happen to be caught pretty easily. There's still a Honma invasion and a Chosokabe invasion known to be at large somewhere in the sea, but we just don't know where they are, so we're keeping our defences tight. Now we're going to jump into a battle. We do need to attack these armies that are trying to walk past us, because if they make it past us, we'll be in big trouble. Everything's concentrated on the front lines, so these men have to stop the enemy. We have the numbers advantage on our side here, and the enemy's troop quality isn't all that good either, so I was surprised they had so much strength on the balance bar. We'll see how they do. There was another surprise as the battle started, because our reinforcements came onto the field from strange directions. One group actually right next to the enemy's reinforcements, and both groups behind the enemy's starting position. I presumed they would come on behind me. Fortunately, this didn't lead to any particular chaos, because only one enemy unit actually got aggroed off from the enemy's reinforcements to fight us here, so we're well able to stop them. You can also see we're shooting our own men pretty effectively. I've got these heavy gunners, shotgun troops effectively, like the Dondibus troops we have seen in certain naval battles. They're very short range, but very powerful, so we're going to be testing those guys out in this battle. So after seeing off the first enemy unit that attacked us, two more came over to challenge our little group here, led by Daihoji. I'm going to use the heavy gunners again to see what they can do. They cut down a third of the enemy troops with one volley, but then they have to fall back. Their short range means they can't shoot very much before the enemy are close enough to make them skirmish away. In this particular case, doesn't really matter. We'll just send forward the melee troops, getting a rear attack on those Ashigaru there, and locking down the nearby Ronin as well. We've got enough stuff to outnumber the enemy quite handily, and they even just routed after a short engagement anyway. They didn't want to fight us completely cut off from their main force. So that was the end of that. Now we can unite our reinforcements behind the enemy as they march forwards. You can see what the enemy's plan is. They're going to take up position on top of this hill surrounded by cliffs. A very good position indeed, and they're still facing off against our first army despite most of our stuff actually being behind them now. So there was a long delay as we moved into position to surround their hill. We then had a bit of action with my horse archers. I tried to move them up to bait some enemy units who were off the hill to come away so we could fight them separately before we went up through the choke points towards the enemy. My attack didn't create much of a stir, but it did get the attention of this Yumi hero unit, the bow heroes. So we're going to have a little bit of a test here for the heavy gunners. They're going to run forward to engage them. Fortunately, the enemy archers were targeting my units at the back there, so we didn't just get cut down doing this. And I have deployed my own archers because I lack faith in the heavy gunners. They move up and give the enemy a volley, but it doesn't do all that much damage. I think against a small enemy unit, the heavy gunners aren't actually very effective, or perhaps they just weren't close enough. In this case, because all of our other archers are attacking the enemy, we defeated them. The hero himself actually tried to run away after all of his followers got killed, but he also was slain by my horse archers. He couldn't escape. So that should lower enemy morale a bit. Those guys do provide a morale buff a bit like generals do to units that are nearby. Now on the other side of the hill, a few enemy units have decided to come down and charge my position. We've got lots of guns here, so we outrange most of what the enemy have, allowing us to attack them from a distance and not necessarily push right up the hill straight away. Although that said, they do have their own gunners who are firing down at us right now from a superior position and inflicting damage. So perhaps this infantry attack is just a distraction. They certainly don't seem willing to commit to it. Once these few units get away from the hill and we just fell back, they started returning to their original positions and giving us more chances to attack them from range, so that's just what we need really. Another unit here starts charging forwards. I'm going to prepare a Yari wall to receive them, but they don't necessarily want to run into it. They start bypassing it to go for these gunners who are now over here. There's a lot of distance, so once again we'll start shooting them. And really what we're seeing here is that the enemy are going to start sending unit after unit down off the hill to try and skirmish with us or achieve something, but because we have all of this space to maneuver, we can keep away from them and just keep shooting units that separate off from the main group. Now then, all we need to do is continue on with that strategy until the enemy stop and take the pressure off us to allow us to go up the hill, and the longer this lasts the better really, because it's all weakening their main position. They are going to test us a bit in places with this strategy, but it is overall much to our advantage. I believe the proper thing to do is to remain steady. It says in the text that when your enemy has a strong position, it is necessary to lure him away from it. You call that a strong position? We're behind them. We can crush them from all sides and have this victory reverberate throughout the valleys, a testament to the strength of the Otomo. Yes, I understand your meaning, my lord, but see, as the various compositions of forces favour a skirmishing approach, it would be quite unnatural now to deviate from the course. What are you talking about? This is a matter of valour, a trait most unnatural, for indeed only we possess it. You speak quite well. However, the reality of the situation remains unchanged by your stirring assessment. We have not been instructed to make a point about the character of our martial philosophy. We are here in accordance with the written instruction of Otomo Yoshishige, instructions that detail certain lines the enemy must not cross and explain the number of troops we have available to achieve this. If Lord Yoshishige, or heaven forbid Lord Yoshiaki, heard that I sat idly while you put unwarranted stress on our men, I would be branded a failure no matter the outcome. There are no brave men left in this clan. In the times when Yoshiaki first broke free of his family's burdens, he was known for his courage, skill, and daring. Now we have you, and now we rule the greater part of Japan. It is quite improper for a leader of a modern army to idolize a principle that may not apply to the situation. Stupid rules. That's what makes people hate the lords. We can't last with this fool around our feet. Unit by unit then, we really destroyed the enemy army. They kept attacking us every time we tried to form up to attack them, and their attack groups were just not enough. They have done lots of damage to us, and slowly we're starting to lose our skirmish advantage, or our skirmishes I should say. We didn't necessarily have the skirmishing advantage, it's just that the enemy came in one unit at a time and eventually gave us one. But yes, even with what we have left, we've got the power to do the damage to the remaining enemy units. They can't really sally against us now. You can see enemies just turning back as they approach us. They don't necessarily want to attack us, but they don't want to stay up on the hill either. They really don't have a choice, since the game doesn't let them surrender. Soon units start routing all over the place, and it leads to a chain rout. The enemy army is gone, and we never actually set foot on the hill we were trying to assault there. They just kept coming out and attacking us, so that made life easy, and the eventual result was that we lost a few hundred men, the enemy lost a few thousand, no units lost on our side, so that's all good, and their attempts to bypass us has now failed. We get a new general from this battle, even though the captain leading the southern group actually died. Apparently his second in command was good enough to be promoted, so we'll take him on just to help out there. Now as for the Takeda main force, I'm just going to block it using my own main force here. So the zones of control here will prevent the enemy from walking past us now, and we're going to give them the choice about how this goes. They can attack us if they want, or they can go back if they're not feeling up to it, which would also be to our advantage. We'll just let them choose the outcome. As it happens, they're going to go for the attacking option. They attack Kobyukawa. It would have been better if they attacked Yoshishige, because then we could use our cannons, but this will have to do. So now it's time for a decisive battle. Both sides have about 7,000 troops, with a mix of quality, but our troops in general are quite experienced, whereas the enemy soldiers tend to be of a much lower standard, so that should help us out. And we're just going to jump right into this battle. I formed up on a small hill to receive their attack, and here it is coming in. The usual formation from us, guns in front with archers and melee troops behind. They sent their cavalry to attack our right, but I had spearmen hanging around, so we easily intercepted them there, and they're just going to do a mass infantry charge right up the centre. Some of my gunners here are experiencing some skirmishing glitches, some of them running backwards, some of them running forwards, and the unit splitting up and just generally becoming unusable. Now the rest of the line will start falling back. They do have lots of good units in this group leading their attack. They've got Tachi Samurai and even their general there coming up to inspire the men. And here is a very bad reaction from me. I was trying to reposition our main line at the last moment. That was a terrible idea because it means our Longyari Ashigaru didn't have their pikes facing the enemy when they charged. So we're not going to get the advantage of having all these pike troops on our front line. The enemy just close in and now our men will be in trouble. Luckily, because they're high rank, their stats are high, so they can sort of contend even with heavy samurai troops in a melee, but still that could have gone much better. On our right flank we're taking bow fire and we're not really able to react to that because our own archers have been pushed away by the charge from the enemy's main line. They're now too far away to help. And you can see various parts of the line are in odd shapes because of how the Yari wall is trying to form up, but the unit's technically been rotated by the enemy's attack. The enemy general does commit suicide in our front line, so that's very good of him, and here where there's a gap opening up, our gunners can shoot through to support the attack, and that's going to help out a lot. Meanwhile, I saw some fire arrows coming in and thought that's okay, but no, it's actually fire rockets, and they demolish part of our left flank there, and they're just going to keep firing throughout the battle. We need to take them down. I've got all these cav assembled ready to make a flank attack once the coast is clear, with Terada leading them, so we'll look out for a chance. On the other flank, I'm making an attack with infantry, although it's not really a flank attack here. We're drawing so many of the enemies away from the main attack that really that's just becoming a separate fight going on over there with no real advantage for us. Now as things started to look better on the front line with enemies beginning to retreat, those fire rockets hit me again, this time firing backwards at Terada, who was taking the cavalry behind the enemy, and Terada was killed by that first volley, so that is very unfortunate. Now we'll have to fight on without him, his army won't have its leader. Still, the fight itself for now looks like it's going to become okay. We've got units that have won their fights, albeit with extreme casualties, and now we have the local numerical advantage to finish off the enemy and demoralize them, especially with all of our ranged units still able to shoot around the edges of the fights and get things going. But still, the loss of Terada has soured whatever result we get here.
What did that rider say? Why are they not attacking? Bad news, my lord. Those rockets we saw. Lord Terada was hit. Hit? And? They said he was killed instantly, along with some of his men. Forget the men. Why did you let this happen? It was mere bad fortune, my lord. You asked him to lead the cavalry, and then you asked the cavalry to ride around taunting those rocket gunners. You wanted this. Why would I want that? Because Terada was a man of quality and a loyal man. You needed him dead. Why are you saying this, my lord? You've gone too far. Oh, so it's just too far, not the wrong direction. If it wasn't death you were planning, what was it? Nothing. The cavalry are numerous with many captains. They needed a ranking lord to control them. Terada did what he thought best, and that was the end of it. Win this battle for us, General. Now. We still have much to discuss. Yes, my lord. No reward for the loyal.
The first enemy attack was repulsed then, at somewhat heavy cost. The battle isn't over though, because their reinforcements will now form up into a new army that also wants to attack us. What I could have done here, if I wanted to be truly optimal, is actually withdraw quite a lot of the army I have so that my reinforcements will come onto the field at full strength, because right now we've got a front line that's full of half to two-thirds depleted units, not particularly useful for facing a fresh enemy force. We do though have quite a lot of our range strength still available, and our cavalry are almost unused, so we should be able to get away with doing this the hard way. We get a little bit of use out of our ranged troops before they have to fall back behind our anemic front line. Things weren't particularly good on our left flank, where I had only a few units blocking the enemy from outflanking me. I think it was these Waco Raiders. The Raiders are useful because they have the Banzai ability, which makes them unroutable, so they're a nice unit to just make the enemy stop for a bit so that you can shoot them with other things. In the centre, I'm trying to use the Yari walls properly, and this time we do get more action from them getting charged frontally, and they'll get plenty of kills just like that, even with their small unit size. Plus, we've got Kobayakawa just behind the front line, not only boosting our morale but using standard fight, which massively increases your attack stat, and the enemy don't want to try and fight through us even with their numbers. They start to rout, and very soon that turns into a whole army rout. The enemy have lost so much already that most of this additional army they brought in didn't really engage us at all, and we just suddenly won without really facing too much danger from the fact that we were facing them with a very damaged force. We needed to follow them off the field and get some more kills because they were reinforcements, just to make sure this battle is more decisive. And here's the eventual result, a Pyrrhic victory. I thought that was a bit of a mean assessment. We lost 2,000 of our 7,000, the enemy lost more like 5,000 of their 7,000, and their losses will be harder to replace through replenishment because they will have lost so many full units. As for us, we lost 2 full units, Terada and some Katana Samurai, the loss of Terada being particularly hard to deal with because getting generals is a little bit random in this game, so you can't just get another one to replace him. I considered in the next turn following up on those survivors and attacking them again, but they've regrouped and there's actually enough of them to still pose a threat to us, so I'm not going to pursue them very eagerly. What I actually need to do is try and get some replenishment, especially on Kobayakawa's army that took the brunt of that attack there. He can actually step just back over the border to get that replenishment and still be in reinforcement range of Yoshishige if the force he has besieged sallies out. So that's an ideal scenario to just wait around in and see what happens. We caught the Chosukabe coming in for a naval invasion, this time around the southern end of Kyushu. They're trying to go around Tanegashima to avoid my blockade of the straits to the north to perhaps land somewhere in western Kyushu, but we managed to foil them again, although their ships are still out there somewhere. Meanwhile, over at the Noto Peninsula, a similar situation going on. We found the Hana Invasion force. I attacked it and it ran away. We can still see it though, and I probably could have actually attacked it this turn if I just split off the Nanban ships from my fleet there, because they can move quite a lot further, but I didn't think of that, so that Honma fleet is still going to be at large. Meanwhile, I've been rebuilding my ships over here along this coast in order to retake the trade node near the Oki Islands that we lost, and that's going to be no problem for us. Now, in the valleys, during that last battle, the enemy moved up some reinforcements by the looks of things. Now the Date and the Takeda are working together. Only 2 armies though, which wasn't as much as I expected, so clearly they've left quite a lot of stuff behind. It might be because I keep hiding my armies here, they don't really know what to expect by coming through these passes. Now what I thought I could do is have one army positioned at the river crossing just to the north there as a fallback plan. So if the enemy get past our castle and get past our hidden units, they will at least have to make a forced crossing that will be quite difficult for them. So that's going to be the job of our new General Noda, although first he has to take out a few enemy survivors here. That's no problem for him though. Now in the Takeda turn, we see reinforcements moving up down the mountain valley, so clearly they do intend to do something, the Date doing exactly the same, but the real action came from the Imagawa this turn. They have a small army that's continuing the Imagawa strategy of doing suicide attacks with small forces, but because we're also near lots of Takeda stuff, we get drawn into a fairly hefty battle. It's only really even because our forces are in such bad condition. So what I may be able to do here is just retreat Kobayakawa's army virtually entirely so that he doesn't take part in the fight, and then we will have a healthy looking force to take the enemy down. Hopefully if we do well enough we'll take the castle as well, and then with the nearby river crossing also apt for defense, this will be a permanent frontline position for us to work from. Christianity was now spreading quickly east of the Kanai region, leaving most of Japan's wealthiest and most politically relevant fiefs both populated and ruled by those who worshipped the foreign religion, or at least claimed that they did. The power of the Japanese Christian Church and its patron Yoshishige reached new heights. With lands and laws governed entirely by this body, they were becoming exactly the threat to established society that the samurai had considered the radical Iki rebels to be. Certainly, the shogun would not stand for such a rival to his power. That's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to the OfficiallyDevin patrons. We're going to try and move into a final phase for this campaign as Yoshiaki enacts a scheme to secure the future of Japan in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.